Greetings, Wandering Beekeeper here, welcome. This is Expectation Gulch. We are in Minecraft 1.16.5, heavily modded. This is Botania House. We are not going to talk about Botania today, we're going to talk about bees. More specifically, we're going to talk about resourceful bees. The Resourceful Bees mod is a resource amplifier like I've never seen. It's just amazing. It's absolutely charming how it works. These are bee nests, which you go out into the world and gather. I've made out in the world and gather. I'm going to leave this coal honeycomb block here for you. Beeswax, blocks of beeswax, the 50 Shades of Bees book that goes with it, various things that I've built along the way. Apiary, that's another thing entirely, and then we talk about centrifuges. Let's talk about equipment first. This is a smoker. If you know anything about beekeeping, you know that you have to puff some smoke into the hive to calm the bees before you open the hive. Otherwise, you get swarmed. It's not pretty. And bee stings ignore armor. They find all the little cracks. So the smoker is really critical. Next is the scraper. This is what we will use to harvest from our resourceful bees. Let us have a look here. Two other items. We have a Beepedia, which is a sort of Pokegear type of Pokedex type of device. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for using a copyrighted term, but this is basically a widget that you point at a bee and it tells you, oh, this is this particular kind of bee, and here's its stats and its breeding cycle and all this and that and the other. And of course, there is a book. The book is fairly simple. It tells you how to get started, how to find, collect bees, how to keep them, collect honeycomb, process and breed, the things that you would need to do as a beekeeper. Finding them is not that difficult. Collecting them just requires a bee jar and a bee box, or a bee box. Staining them is where we go to the Beepedia. Keeping them is where we have the hive. We have the scraper. Don't try using shears. Use a scraper. Trust me on this. Just don't. And then we have centrifuges, and there's breeding because it's not always flowers with some of these bees. Then it gets into a lot of heavier stuff and all the breeding and stuff, and tells you how to make your tools. It gives you a few extra goodies. Tells you a bit about some of the bees. Let's just go look at them rather than flipping through the book anymore. This, by the way, down here is a manual centrifuge. I'm going to take the bottles out of it because those bottles are useful elsewhere. You drop bottles in and honeycomb, and then you stand here and you turn the crank by right-clicking, and eventually it produces bottles of honey and processed honeycomb. Once you get a little ways along, then you can start building processing equipment. This is a powered centrifuge. Drop comb in it. It will produce various products, including bottles of honey and whatever resource that particular breed of bee is making. It's powered. It's actually honey-powered. This is a honey-powered generator. You throw bottles of honey in, they get emptied into the reservoir, which then creates KRF. Hopper here in case I have a lot of honeycomb to throw in. And this is the big powered centrifuge, and this is where we do the big manufacturing. Oh, hey, I've got an open slot. Let me go grab that. I have some coal honeycomb block because I have coal bees. They don't feed on flowers, they feed on coal block, and they produce more coal in the process. And I'm going to find my iron honeycomb here. All right, we'll load bottles, so that's full. At which point, oh hey, we are processing. You can see that we are processing, and there are bottles of honey being produced. More iron made. I'm going to take out a few stacks of iron and a few stacks of beeswax. Wow, that goes quick, doesn't it? So here's why I don't run out of coal. Let's go feed this coal to a monospreader. This is a Botania device we saw in a previous video. You should be familiar with it already. If not, go back and watch the video. I already covered it. And now you know why there's so much iron in this chest. You haven't seen the bees yet. Oh, those are tanks of honey. Those are wooden tanks, and then I built another tank, and finally I built a purple tank because I was producing so much extra honey that I needed the maximum capacity tank just to store the surplus. Yeah, we just ran over and came back, and this is already loaded up massively. Let's just try clearing some of it. Good grief. Yeah. You see, I really need to put some sort of item sorter on that. There needs to be an output device attached that goes to a sorter and a automated storage system. Putting an output with applied energistics ME technology would be an amazing thing. You hook up your centrifuge to an ME import bus, and all of this stuff just goes pouring into your grid. It would be intense. I mean, you'd have put this to a liquid storage cell. And you could have the equivalent of several of these tanks in a chip. All right, we've seen how productive it is. I mean, once you hit the big powered centrifuge and you're dropping in honeycomb block instead of just honeycomb, the amount of resources that comes pouring out is frightening. It's like the Sampo. You know, you've got all these resources just pouring out of this tower-shaped device. Let's go look at how this happens. How it happens are bees. Pardon me. We want to see the bees in the daylight for right now. Now the smoker back down. The domes are made of monoglass from Botania, which gives me a highly transparent glass, no edge lines. It also glows softly, which makes it just gorgeous at night. But I want to see this in the day first. Each of these domes has two kinds of bees, or is set up for two kinds of bees. That one doesn't have its bees yet. Let's go look at the first set. Just zip in. We have dirty bees. Dirty bees feed on soil, dirt. They're perfectly happy with grass block as their food source. Then we have coal bees. There's a coal bee. Looks like coal, like it's made out of coal ore. Got a little pile of coal on its back. And it will visit these coal blocks. These coal blocks were put up when the hive was created. It will visit these coal blocks and never diminish them. That's catalyst. It's never used up. Let's smoke. Let's pop here and dirty bee. Regular bee. It spends 60 seconds in the hive. It does 1 point of damage. It does lose its stinger when it attacks, so it only can attack once. It is poisonous. Well, it should say venomous, really. We know that argument. And it tells us that it feeds on grass block and dirt and tantrid dirt and mutated grass and all sorts of other ground. And it will occasionally mutate a honeycomb block into a spawn egg or a block of dirt. It tells you how much honeycomb to expect based on a standard nest or an apiary. Apiaries have to have support structures. We'll see those in a few minutes. You get up to 16 honeycomb per, and then it starts producing block. That gets intense. Tells you how they spawn, and you expect what altitude and how many in a group you will normally find in the wild. And then it tells us that to breed them, you need 5 fodder to give to each bee, and that's over in the supplementaries. You'll have to look that up yourself. So Beepedia gives us a vast amount of information about the bee. Let us smoke the hive. We're gonna shred the hive? No, 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 no. We're gonna spray the hive? No, 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 no. We're gonna smoke the hive. We have a certain amount of time while the smoke is effective. And we hit it with the scraper, and we go pick up. And we now have 6 coal honeycomb and 5 dirty honeycomb. Let's move on. Oh, these are fun. We have here RGBs. Yes, they are slowly cycling through color. They are RGBs. And then the others are mason bees. Mason bees produce honeycomb, may produce clay ball. Interesting. We have a hive here and a hive, 2 hives here that need harvesting. So I am going to smoke the hives, both of them. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. The RGBs are feeding off the flowers, and the mason bees, I think, are also feeding off the flowers, oddly enough. Don't quite get that. Okay, collect honeycomb, we move on. Here we have lapis bees and Kobe beef. Kobe beef feed at a smoker. I didn't make this mod up. It's not my fault. Stack them. Smoke them, scrape them. And done. Oh, there's a lapis bee coming out to feed at a lapis block. We'll twirl on the bin there, and there goes one of the Kobe's to go feed at the smoker. Again, it does not diminish it. For the resource cost of building 4 smokers and setting up the hive, I have got 4 Kobe beef honeycomb, which is immediately consumable. This is food. You can just straight up eat it. It's like, you know, carrying around summer sausage or something. I don't know. Well, we do have bees over here. I thought I hadn't populated. Cob bee, which makes cobblestone, and the spider bee, which makes wool. Spider bee, spider bee. We're in the neighborhood, spider bee. Smoke the bees. Scrape the hive. Holy Toledo. Hee-haw-hooey. We got 10 spiders and 10 cob bees. Honeycombs. Let's wait a second and see if the bees come out. Since I just cleaned out their hive, they should. There we go. When the smoke clears, there's a spider bee. Off to visit a block of wool. And a cob bee that has gone off to visit the cobblestone with something of a rude noise. Seem kind of harumphed at us. Alright. So, there are a lot of different kinds of bees. Really, really a lot of different kinds of bees. The green stars are ones I have actually taken, actually pointed the Beepedia at and registered. They've been registered in the Beedex. Some of them I haven't, a bunch of them I haven't even encountered yet, and they go on, and all of them produce resources. And so let's go over here, back this way. Oh, let's visit the apiary first. Almost forgot. How could I forget? This is an important thing. This is an apiary. The structure is predefined. You build the base, or you plunk down the apiary unit itself, which right now has monobees in the hive. We can import bees, and there's an apiary storage unit and a breeder, so on and so forth. There we go. We have monobees who are feeding at a block of terrasteel. Iron bees feeding in an iron block. Various other bees. And then that's the apiary storage. Terrifying, isn't it? You saw the amount of iron in that chest. It's just from a couple of stacks. The amount of iron here is enough to build a railway across a continent. We'll come back to this in a few minutes. I'm going to go get some stuff into the centrifuge. And then we'll come back and look at the bees in the evening when you can get a real good look at it. Let's put the RGB honeycomb. It cycles, the honeycomb itself cycles through colors. Put it in here and let it start. It'll automatically start processing. We have power. We have empty bottles, and it produces red dye. So we are getting red dye and green dye so far. We'll let it run. This is going to take just a moment. This will also allow some time to pass. We are within the boundary of a warded space. Hostile mobs cannot cross into the compound where I'm standing. There are warding blocks all the way around it. The compound itself is also fairly well lit. I've gone through with lanterns and tried to make sure that I don't have any shadows where hostile mobs could spawn. So it should be safe to walk around here at night. And we're also getting rainbow honey out of this. Let's go put the rainbow honey away. Let's take it out of the centrifuge. Can't put it back in. I got 3 bottles of the stuff. I've not yet done anything with it. That's the bee box. Use this to trap bees out in the wild and then release them in the hives. Various and sundry other things that have come about as the result of working with resourceful bees. The amplifier that you get is phenomenal. Let's hit that start. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? We've got these glowing domes. Yes, I know the first one is 1 block higher than the rest. I goofed. It happens. I'm not going to rebuild the first one or all the other ones. It's just not going to happen. But the monoglass glows and gives us this absolutely beautiful, whoops, excuse me. You are a problem that needs to get out of my... There, jerk. Get out of my elemental craft equipment. I want to show people the happy bees. Listen to them drone. Okay. Let me stash a couple of things here to make some space really quick. And I'm going to grab a block here. Grab a stack of mana honeycomb block. Take it this way. Now we left spider bee honeycomb, and we have string. Got a couple, 2 string and 2 honey. So we have more resources. We have cob bee. Let's get that processing. Look over here because we have honeycomb. I'm going to clear that out and run it over here. Like I said, I really need an automation system. I really need an automation system. think applied energistics would go well. But then applied energistics is just such a fabulous system for materials management in general. I really think the world of the folks behind applied energistics. They crafted amazingly well. I kind of don't like not being, being without it. But the goal of this world and this series was to do everything by magic. So, Botania's corpora might be able to do something with this. I don't know. Have this entire honey-powered system going here that really needs some sort of piping or something. At least I have somewhere to put a bunch of this stuff here. Oh yeah, we picked up some cobblestone. Let's huck that into there. Make some space. Because I really want... Oh, good grief. The coal block is so incredibly prolific. I mean, just to the nth degree. So Resourceful Bees, you see, it's an amplifier. It's spawning so much in the way of resources that I'm running my poor character's feet off, hearing all this stuff back and forth, just trying to keep up with the output. Been working all night at this. I trust at this point I belabored the point sufficiently. It's a terrific mod that produces a flood of resources once you get it up and running. As with any mod, there's some initial cost. I already had Botania up and running, and so making the monoglass was very easy. Setting up the hives is easy. The apiary is expensive. It is resource intensive to create the apiary itself and then the apiary structure with the storage unit and so forth. But once it is set up, you've seen the flood of resources that comes pouring out of a single stack of honeycomb block. And you've seen the number of stacks of honeycomb blocks sitting in here waiting to be processed. Think of the amount of iron alone that is right there. Like I said, you could build a railway across the continent. So, Resourceful Bees. 5 out of 5. Absolutely recommend the mod. Love it. It's charming. It's whimsical. And it produces a torrent of materials that it is overwhelming. It's the amplification factor is amazing, and I love the delivery system. It's just absolutely beautiful. Very clever, very inventive. I'm the Wandering Beekeeper, and thank you for coming along on this ride.